I'm Gregor Thomson, I'm a philosopher and a writer, and I know what the meaning of life is. Welcome to The Struggle. This episode is brought to you by The Struggle newsletter. This is a weekly email newsletter in which I send out for free every Sunday a short article concerning the art of embracing struggle. If you feel restricted in life, if something is holding you back, perhaps it's time to struggle your way towards freedom. If you're trying to be productive, you're trying to be healthy and to achieve your dreams, perhaps you're chasing the wrong thing. A lot of us believe that we should be aiming for happiness, but this is an unwise pursuit, as happiness comes and goes without any control from us. However, there is a way to be more fulfilled with life, and that is to embrace struggle, to exercise, to eat healthily, to have uncomfortable conversations, to take career risks, to discover who you are, and to be autonomous. That's the way to break free from whatever it is that's restricting you. And that's why I created a newsletter. Along with the article, I also provide tips, strategies, and recommendations such as movies, music, podcasts, and recipes to help along the way. To sign up for free, go to gregorthomson.com. The link will be in the show notes. Confirm your subscription and make sure you check your spam folder for your welcome newsletter and add me to your contacts to continue to receive it in your inbox every week for free. And that's it. You're on your way to struggling more and being more productive, healthy, and motivated. Now, let's get on with the struggle. This is episode 45 of The Struggle with me, Gregor Thomson. And today I'm going to discuss an extremely horrible and unethical experiment that was carried out in the late 1960s that strangely has had positive consequences, even if the test subjects don't think so. So, researchers attached an electrical current to the hind legs, or paws, of a dog. And for obvious reasons, the dog was terrified during the first initial shocks, showing symptoms such as dilated pupils, hair standing on end, ears laid back, tail curled between its legs, and, quote, expulsive defecation and urination. The dog was then freed from the harness holding it in place, and after the first shock, quote, it moved slowly about the room, appeared to be stealthy, hesitant, and unfriendly. The dog's heart rate rose to 150 beats per minute above resting baseline during the first shock. Then the heart rate fell to 30 beats per minute below baseline for 1 minute. However, as the dog endured further electrical shocks, quote, its behaviour gradually changed. During the shocks, the signs of terror disappeared. Instead, the dog appeared pained, annoyed, or anxious, but not terrified. For example, it whined rather than shrieked and showed no further urination, defecation, or struggling. Then, when the dog was released, at the end of the session, the researchers said that the dog rushed about, jumped on people, wagged its tail in what they called a fit of joy. Within these subsequent shocks, the dog's heart rate rose only slightly above resting baseline and only for seconds. Then, following the shock, the heart rate slowed significantly to 60 beats per minute below baseline, and it took 5 minutes for the heart rate to return to baseline. So, to summarize this experiment, again this horrible experiment, the dog seemed to adapt to the repeated exposure to pain, in that the response of pain became weaker and shorter, and the calm response following the pain became prolonged and stronger. The pain changed from a struggle to a fit of joy, and the state following the pain changed from anxiety to a state of relaxation. This experiment seems to show that if we embrace struggle and pain now, we will feel long-lasting pleasure in the future with prolonged exposure. Of course, these poor animals were not volunteering to this pain, and I'm certainly not suggesting that you inflict literal pain on yourself. However, if we were to voluntarily embrace difficult things that require effort or metaphorical pain, perhaps we could, 1, provide ourselves with reliable pleasure following the effort, 2, feel a more robust form of purpose, and 3, be better prepared and calmer when unexpected pain occurs, meaning we can better handle it, rather than freezing with our tail between our legs and our hair standing on end. What we can also take away from this experiment is that the dogs obviously did not want the pain even after they experienced a fit of joy during the latter shocks. However, it seems, upon contemplating their changed behaviour, that they became braver and more courageous. So, perhaps embracing pain or doing difficult, effortful things is not about becoming acclimatized to them, but becoming more courageous even in our fear or even in the midst of pain and struggle. If we continually do difficult things, we will eventually feel pleasure or a fit of joy from them afterwards. It's always going to be difficult to get out of bed and go for a run. Sometimes it feels as painful as attaching electrical currents to your feet. But perhaps with repeated exposure, we become braver and therefore are better equipped to overcome our own minds telling us to stay in bed. It's certainly always difficult to climb into a bath of ice, but perhaps with repeated exposure, we will become braver and embrace the pain of the cold anyway and enjoy the fit of joy that certainly follows. Perhaps prescribing our way out of painful experiences such as depression and anxiety is not always the wisest route. Perhaps this only provides a short-term plaster over a deep-rooted wound that requires attention. Perhaps instead of avoiding the pain, we should lean into it, attach the electrical current to our feet, and examine the depression, examine the anxiety, examine the emotion. As difficult as that is, we can eventually become accustomed to examining our deep-rooted anxieties and emotions and develop a capacity to live within the pains of reality and thus become braver, stronger, and more fulfilled. Then the painful emotions don't provide a sudden and unexpected pain like that of the first electrical shock the dog experienced. The painful emotions will still feel painful, but we have become accustomed to them, like the latter electrical shocks the dog experienced. Then we can feel them, be with them, and deal with them, rather than distracting ourselves from them. We are all guilty of distracting ourselves from the pains of reality in various forms, whether that be through alcohol, drugs, gambling, social media, television, or pornography. But perhaps these are all doing the exact same thing as the plaster of prescriptions. Perhaps these all distract us from the pains of reality and thus cause us further pain when we cannot possibly distract ourselves any longer. Perhaps the more we distract ourselves from the pains of reality, we make reality like that of the first electrical shock every time we can't distract ourselves any longer. But if we volunteer ourselves to pain, effort, work, and struggle, we make reality more bearable and even, dare I say it, like a fit of joy. The answer lies in the struggle. So keep on struggling. Just a few more things before you take off. Firstly, thank you for watching. It genuinely means a lot to see people viewing and liking the content. Second, if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe and share. Those are the best ways you can support the podcast. As you can probably tell, I don't have a ton of fancy equipment. I don't have a team behind me helping with marketing or editing the podcast. I don't have much resources. So any help is greatly appreciated. You can also stay up to date with everything I'm doing on social media. All of the links will be in the show notes. And you can also listen to the Struggle podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And lastly, keep on struggling.